Hey everybody, Tim here with today's review of James Bond, the 13th movie, lucky number 13, Octopussy. So before I even get into this movie's kind of important because this came out in June of 1983, 4 months before Sean Connery's return in Never Say Never Again. But anyways, so 1983, it's been 30 years since James Bond was first created in the novel. Let's see. So it's been 21 years since the first official Eon production movie came out, Dr. No. And it's been 10 years since Live and Let Die came out, which was Roger Moore's first Bond movie. So this is like his 10th year anniversary. So all of these numbers, there's a lot going on. This is kind of a celebration year for James Bond. This is Roger Moore's 6th movie, which now makes him tied with Sean Connery as far as like the most movies an actor has done. There's a little bit after this, it gets a little bit like it's kind of opinionated, if you will, because Roger Moore will do one more official Eon production movie, which will put him at 7, so he has done the most movies. But Sean Connery does Never Say Never Again, and since that's not an official Eon Productions movie, most people don't count that. So it's either they're tied or Roger Moore wins. So either way, that's a discussion for another movie. The title song for this movie is All Time High, which is a great song. I really enjoyed it. It's one of the few songs where it's not the title of the movie, nor does the title of the movie even appear in the song, mostly because you can't really rhyme Octopussy with a whole bunch of stuff. So it kind of makes sense, but I think it would have been funny if they had at least tried to do it. So I really enjoyed this movie. A lot of the Bond movies for me, they start out really good and they end really good, but that middle part, like a lot of it's just like 60s, 70s, 80s filmmaking. Like that's just kind of the way they shot films. Whereas this one actually kept me in pretty well. Right around the 3/4 mark, I did start to get a little fatigued, but for the most part, I stayed pretty much into it. From the very beginning, where we see Bond going undercover as the general or whatever role that was pretty good, and it's kind of a shout out to the end of the movie where he goes again, like he dresses as a clown. So it's a little bit of foreshadow going on. And the killer clown part was a little messed up, where he like bashes through the window and he like dies holding the balloon. I was like, oh, that's it. That's who that is. That's Pennywise right there. Okay, moving on. So I liked that. Miss Moneypenny shows up, who will always be my favorite character, and then he hits on Miss Smallbone, Miss Moneypenny's assistant. Now, I don't know if that was them setting up Miss Moneypenny to retire at some point or what, but I didn't like it. I was like, nope, she doesn't need an assistant. She's fine just how she is. Like, Lois Maxwell will always be the queen bee. So that kind of threw me off. The character of M makes his return, which again, depending on who the Bond fan you're talking to is that M or is that Admiral Hargraves? Robert Brown is now playing M through the rest of Roger Moore's run. And he does a fine job. He's great. He's not Bernard Lee, but he's great. Anyways, the reason I said that was because Robert Brown previously played Admiral Hargraves in the movie The Spy Who Loved Me. Now, is he playing a completely different character? Is he playing Bernard Lee's character? Or is he playing Admiral Hargraves is now promoted to the position of M? That's not for me to decide. To me, as soon as I saw him, I think of Admiral Hargraves. I don't think of him as Bernard Lee's character. But that's just me. The Fabergé egg going on auction is great. It's a fantastic scene. And I just kind of like auction scenes in general. Whether it's James Bond, whether it's the First Wives Club. I don't care. Like, it's always kind of fun to see. And just even in real life, like, it's kind of fun to see, like, who will go further to outbid somebody else. And especially in moments like this, where he doesn't really want to win. He's just trying to up the other guy's ante. And then I liked the scene where Bond switches the eggs under the book and stuff, but to me, like, it didn't, like, as soon as he did it, I was like, okay, I know what you did. But it didn't, I don't know, they could have done it a little differently. The snake charmer scene kind of rolled my eyes a little bit, where he's like doing his little snake thing, and then he starts playing the Bond theme song, and of course, like, James stops and turns to go like talk to him. I was like, okay, so clearly, like, he knows his own theme song. That's kind of cool. It's almost like a Deadpool moment going on. I loved the backgammon scene only because I am a fan of backgammon. Like, I don't play a lot of cards, like whether it's like whatever they play in James Bond or poker or blackjack or anything like that. Like, I'm not a big card person. I like simple board games like chess or checkers or backgammon, like stuff like that. So I was totally down when they're playing it. And then when the dude smashes the dice, I was like, oh, okay, like that's not necessary, but you do you. The car chase was kind of fun, where it's not even like a car; it's almost like a Tonka truck or like Little Tyke or something. And he like goes up on the two wheels to get away and stuff. That whole fight sequence where he uses like the Indian culture around him to like fight the villains, where like he throws the guy on the bed of nails and the fire juggler, and he like grabs it and then he like pulls the sword out of the dude's throat. Like, all of that was kind of interesting, but I was almost curious if like it was like stereotyping or something. Like, it was a bit much. I did, however, like the scene where they like drive through the wall and instantly like a new poster comes down blocking the car. Like, I thought that was a great scene. I really enjoyed it. We finally do meet Octopussy and her little tattoo, which that was clearly like a zebra stripes gum, if you guys ever had that, where they just like tapped it onto her. Like, it was the fakest looking tattoo ever. And I have a bunch of tattoos, so trust me, I know. But I thought it was kind of funny, where she's like, oh, that's just my little Octopussy. And seeing James's reaction, I was like, oh, that's the name of the movie. Like, what are you expecting? I absolutely love the scene where she steals the egg from him. Like, that whole sequence is just dumb, because I mean, he can see her, she knows there's a mirror behind her and stuff, but I love where she like ties her shirt and like jumps off the balcony and it like untwines her down. Like, it was a really well done shot. I really enjoyed it. Where he actually gets kidnapped and they eat the stuffed sheep's head, I was like, nope, I'm not having that today. Like, I was expecting an Indiana Jones thing where it was just going to be monkey brains or something. Him pretending to be a dead body was kind of meh, like, okay. And then when he was like, boo! And like scares the guy and like busts out, I was like, okay, now it's dumb. That is only topped off in the cheese factor by him doing the Tarzan yell swinging from tree to tree. I was like, okay, you have like jumped the shark at this point. Like, stop, go back to where you were. The buzzsaw yo-yo was kind of cool, and here's where I started getting worn down. I think it was because of the sheep and the Tarzan and the dead body thing. Like, I think that wore me down, and so I was kind of like blah. And then the train scene popped up, which was kind of a nice scene where he like is running on the top of the train and he's like jumping over poles and ducking under bridges, stuff like that. It was kind of interesting for James Bond. The whole circus thing was super interesting, and then seeing Bond in the makeup as a clown, for one, you can really see Roger Moore's age showing through that makeup, but overall, like, it was really nice. And then like the whole battle sequence, like, I was like, oh, he stopped the bomb, it's over. No, they're gonna keep going, and there's gonna be this huge circus battle where they're like jumping on top of each other and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And I was like, okay, now it's over. Nope, it's like Lord of the Rings, like there's 15 endings, where he's like sliding down the banister and he can see like the globe at the bottom, and he's like, oh, well, that's gonna hurt. So he just like stops shooting people and starts shooting the banister to get out of it. And then he like flings down. I was like, okay, so this is good. Now we're finally at the end. And sure enough, like, he's in his weakened condition, and like as soon as you see the rowboat and they're like in, out, I was like, oh, they're gonna be having sex, like, that's clear. And sure enough, like, he's in his weakened condition and he breaks through the casts and everything and jumps on the woman, and I was like, okay, yeah, I saw that coming. Like, nobody's surprised by this. And that's it. That's how the movie ends. Overall, I was really entertained by most of this movie, at least. And I think it was really good. I'm not sure if I would say it's my favorite Roger Moore movie. After I do his last one, I'll actually rank all of them. But overall, I'd say this was a really good movie. I really, really enjoyed this one. So for those who have seen this one, what did you guys think? Go ahead, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time for the unofficial Eon movie, or the unofficial Bond movie, Never Say Never Again.